I wanted to talk to you also, Ken, about another issue. We got some extraordinary, I guess, comments from former State Department spokesperson Matt Miller, who became, quite infamous from being up at the podium and defending things that should be indefensible in the context of our support of Israel, as Israel is committing what I and many scholars see as a genocide in Gaza. Now he comes out and says, yeah, obviously Israel is committing war crimes. That's completely apparent. I just couldn't say it at the time because I was representing the government. Let's take a listen to what he has to say now.
Do you think what's going on in Gaza now is a genocide?
I don't think it's a genocide, but I think I think it is without a doubt true that Israel has committed war crimes.
You wouldn't have said that at the podium.
Yeah, look, because when you're at the podium, you're not expressing your personal opinion. You're expressing the conclusions of the United States government. The United States government had not concluded they've committed war crimes, still have not concluded that.
But your personal view is they have.
And
they were while you were there.
But let me qualify that. There are two ways to think about the commission of war crimes. One is if the state has pursued a policy to deliberately committing war crimes or is acting reckless in a way that aids and abets war crimes. And that, I think, is an open question. I think what is almost certainly not an open question is that there have been individual incidents that have been war crimes where members of the Israeli military have committed war crimes. So ultimately, in almost every major conflict, including conflicts prosecuted by democracies, you will see individual members of the militaries commit war crimes. And the way you judge a democracy is whether they hold those people accountable.
But Israel hasn't.
That's my point,
right.
Is we have not yet seen them hold sufficient numbers of the military accountable, and I think it's an open question whether they're going to.
I'm really struck that you think now that Israel did commit war crimes, and yet at the time, and I get why, but at the time you were at the podium and you couldn't say that. I mean, personally, that must be very difficult for you.
So the State Department itself had concluded, they didn't phrase it in these terms, but I think I did at the podium a few times, had concluded that it was likely that Israel had committed war crimes. But I do think it's almost certain.
Your thoughts on that, Ken?
I mean, on the one hand, it's of course outrageous that he's willing to work for an administration that he clearly didn't agree with. But on the other hand, I'll tell you, and I talked to a lot of people from state, including diplomats, what he's saying is pretty much in line with what a lot of these guys would say privately when I talk to them. I mean, it's the Agency for Diplomacy. It shouldn't surprise us that they see these things and have these attitudes. But what does surprise me is it shows you how out of step President Biden was with his own administration.
Yeah.
That so many people, including this paid flack, are coming out and saying this stuff. Like Biden had really, strongly held views about Israel that were not consistent with much of the rest of his administration.
I mean, I think most people would feel like even if you are a paid spokesperson, like that doesn't just give you license to lie. And that is the moral position that he's effectively articulating here. So there's that. It's also astonishing to me the continued levels of spin at this point in time. I mean, you've got frickin' Piers Morgan out being like, what can I say? Y'all were right. It's a genocide. I mean, the number of Israeli officials, all you have to listen to is their own statements. When he's trying to parse, well, there might have been individual war crimes, but I don't know if it was government policy. It's like, really? Did you not see them announce a policy of mass starvation and blockade of the entire Gaza Strip? Like, have you not watched as we've had month after month after month of total annihilation and people being massacred as they go and try to get food aid? Have you not listened to what Bibi Netanyahu is saying about how, we're just going to use this aid as a pretext to basically engage in ethnic cleansing? Like, it's wild to me at this point that you could still engage in that level of self-delusion to pretend that maybe this was just rogue actors within the IDF, and though they haven't been punished appropriately, but they were just doing, their own thing, rather than a very clear, consistent, concerted government policy at a time when, like I said, even figures like Piers Morgan have figured out that this is the case.
Yeah, not just Piers, but various officials from powerful European governments like France, for instance. I mean, this is
Germany.
A sea change.
Even Germany.
Yeah, these are very powerful, wealthy European states saying these things. Something is happening over the last several weeks. I looked at that and I couldn't figure out what was driving it, but there's absolutely a shift that we haven't seen at any point since October 7th.
So just for people's recollection, let's go ahead and take a listen to some of the things that he was saying when he was at the podium.
I think it is without a doubt true that Israel has committed war crimes.
You wouldn't have said that at the podium.
Yeah, look,
bureaus that look at facts, apply them to international law, and make assessments. Those assessments are ongoing, and we have not yet at this time concluded that Israel has violated international humanitarian law, but we have ongoing assessments across a number of different fronts.
So all these organizations are just wrong? They just see the law differently?
I'm telling you that we have ongoing assessments, and we have not yet reached that conclusion. Failed to implement all of the things that we recommend in that letter. Now, that said, we are not at the end of the 30-day period,
Okay,
and we
so
are
it's a
in
fail, but you're not ready to give them
it's
an
not the
F.
end. It's not the end of the semester. You don't hand out grades in the
okay,
middle.
well,
In the
I
middle.
Gives you the right to lecture other countries on their moral.
So if you have a policy question for me, I'm happy to take it. If you want to give a speech,
No, but
there are
I
plenty
mean-
of places in Washington where you can give a speech.
Yeah, but people are sick of the bullshit in here. I mean, like, it is a genocide.
I'm gonna
you
go on
are
to- I'm gonna
abetting
go on
it,
another question.
and you
Go ahead.
are
Israel blowing up an entire village in southern Lebanon. What do you make of that?
So I've seen the footage. I cannot speak to what their intent was or what they were trying to accomplish. I know sometimes everyone likes to make this seem like a black and white issue that is completely simple, where there's somebody that's blocking humanitarian assistance, when it can be much more complex. Targeted attacks on civilians could not be justified, but Israel does have the right to go after terrorists. I mean, that is just a fact under international humanitarian law, that every country has the right to defend itself.
So, Ken, I'd like you to talk a little bit about the moral calculation that goes on here, because I think in some instances, people could be sympathetic to the idea that, like, look, you're a spokesperson for this other politician. It's impractical to think your views are going to line up 100% of the time. You aren't speaking for yourself. You're speaking on behalf of this agency. You're speaking on behalf of the president, whatever. So there are going to be times when you represent something that is not truly your own personal view. It seems very different when you're talking about something like war crimes and crimes against humanity. And I do think the willingness of someone like a Matt Miller to stand up there and say things he knows is not true, to remain in that job, even as it's not just Israel committing war crimes, it's us funding, providing diplomatic cover for, lying on their behalf, shipping weapons in order for them to perpetrate those war crimes. Like, that is, to me, a morally unconscionable decision to make. So talk a little bit about that moral landscape and the rationale that does go through the minds of people like Matthew Miller, who end up adopting this pathetic line of defense. Oh, I was just following orders.
Yeah, the capacity for rationalization has to be strong if you're going to be a spokesperson for an organization like that. And he clearly has that. I was amazed at how breezily he was able to put it off. I mean, if I did an interview like that, I'd be kind of embarrassed and kind of like, here's what I'm doing to try to, make up for what I said before.
Right.
I mean,
It's just like, he has war crimes. Yeah. But,
yeah,
it's just doing my job.
It speaks to the culture, because he must be surrounded by people that also are making these, more, very morally compromising decisions, and they're also used to it that it doesn't even merit looking a little embarrassed or trying to explain what you're doing to make up for your position before. That's the most disturbing feature of it, is how when they're breezy about it, that means that they're used to it and they're surrounded by other people that are used to it.
Yeah, that's such a great point. Ken, tell people where they can follow you and support your work.
I'm on Substack. You can find me at kenklippenstein.com.
All right, Ken, great to see you, my friend.
Hey, if you like that video, hit the like button or leave a comment below. It really helps get the show to more people.
And if you'd like to get the full show ad-free and in your inbox every morning, you can sign up at breakingpoints.com.
That's right. Get the full show, help support the future of independent media at breakingpoints.com.